And then we do the bite. We go in for the bite, we deal necrotic damage, we deal effective hit point damage, and we also heal 7 more additional hit points. Alright, let's take a look at the vampire spawn next. We've got a medium undead with 15 natural AC, 11 D8, and also should be a CR5. Then we have 16 strength, 16 dex, 16 con, okay, 11 intellect, 10 wisdom, and 12 charisma. After that, we'll move into the skills area. We have 2 saving throws, but because it's 2, we don't have to worry about modifying our character at all, or the monster. Damage resistances do matter though. We have necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. We'll go ahead and throw that in, giving the vampire spawn 50% more hit points. And after that, we can move into the monster traits because there's nothing else we need to worry about in the skills area. So we have regeneration, and that's straightforward. I mean, there's a whole bunch of extra information there, but we can just skip past reading that. We just want to see the 10 hit points. Next, we have Spider Climb, and Spider Climb has no effect on the monster, so we can skip that. And then we go to Vampire Weaknesses. Whole bunch of information here. Vampire takes damage in running water, stake to the heart, sunlight, hypersensitivity. No effect on the vampire at all, surprisingly enough, especially with like the hypersensitivity and whatnot. Alright, so moving into the attack section, or the actions for our monster, and we have a multi-attack. The vampire can make 2 attacks, only one of which can be a bite attack. And we have +6 to hit, so we'll go ahead and throw the +6 in. And then we have, let's see here, for claws, we've got 2d4 +3 for 8 slashing damage, so 2d4 and +8, so it's strength or dex, it doesn't matter. And then let's see here, instead of dealing damage, the vampire can grapple the target as well. Speaking of the bite, let's see here, one creature that's grappled by the vampire, incapacitated, restrained, or willing, will be dealt 6 piercing damage, coming from 1d6 +3, and then +7 more necrotic damage. Alright, so then we're doing what, 2d6 there for the 7 necrotic. And the target's hit point maximum is reduced by amount equal to the necrotic damage taken, and the vampire regains hit points equal to that amount. So we also have to take into effect the effective DPR from the hit points being reduced to the player. So we're also gaining a little bit of regen here if we get a bite off every round of combat, because we could sacrifice the claws for a grapple instead. So let's see here, what could we do for our rounds of combat? Let's take a look at our different multi-attack options we have. We could do 2 claw attacks, so we could simply just do that times 2. Or we could do 1 of each, the claw and the bite, if we grapple or we do something that's targeting someone that's incapacitated. Do I need to add anything else into that? So it's claws, the bite, necrotic damage, then the effective necrotic damage, so we'll also do that again, and then the vampire would be regenerating health. So the claw attacks, you're allowed to make 2 claw attacks because clearly the vampire has 2 hands to make claw attacks with. So here's my thinking. Round 1, we would go in for the claw attack but do a grapple instead. And then once we have the target grappled, we can do the constrict ability for having someone grappled, which gives them 1 effective AC, right? And then we do the bite. We go in for the bite, we deal necrotic damage, we deal effective hit point damage, and we also heal 7 more additional hit points. And that effectively could be done, rinse, repeat every round. But because the vampire has 2 claws, or 2 hands to do claws with, we're not restricted in saying we can't do it multiple times. Normally it says like, oh, the target or the monster can only do this once, if it's like the tail attack and grappling with the tail or whatever. It would specifically say that we can only do it 1 time, or we can only have 1 target grappled. Then on rounds 2 and 3, we can do the 28.5 damage. So with our one hand, we've got a target grappled, right? With the other hand, they can swipe with the claw, then bite the person they have grappled with the other hand, and do this all over again. So in theory, rounds 2 and 3 would be doing the same thing here. And if that's the case, and we can actually do that, then we have a CR6 vampire spawn, which is slightly underrated. But let's just see for the heck of it, what happens if we can't do that multiple times, and we only do this, we do the grapple, keeping the target grappled and biting every round, because that's probably what they had more in mind. All right, so that's the case there. If you don't finesse the rules a bit and massage it out so you can do a swipe with a claw while still having a target grappled, you have a CR 5 vampire spawn. And then if you just straight up a claw attacks, you're gonna have, let's see, what do we get for claw attacks? If you're just doing straight up claws and not biting, still a CR 5. That's impressive. Okay. So you don't even have to worry about going in for the bite unless you actually want to heal the vampire spawn. So both ways, you have a CR 5 vampire spawn. But if you finesse it a little bit, you can get a CR 6.